Welcome back to video number 4 in this marathon series designed to set you up for your strongest marathon yet over the course of about 1 hour in total. At this point in the prep, you now have your race on the calendar, you have your training plan in place, you have your gear secured, and you figured out what kind of fueling and hydrating you're going to be needing to set yourself up for success in the months ahead with your marathon training. And if you don't, make sure you check out videos 1 through 3. So now all you have to do is show up and do those runs on your training plan, which sounds easy, right? But of course is the hardest part. So that's what I want to get into today. So let's dive into what I call training with intention. First off, a routine and getting in the miles is definitely the most important step and the first step embarking on your endurance training journey. However, when we're talking about marathon training, I would really say that's a prerequisite if you're getting into this. So instead, I want to go a step further than that because I want more for you in this marathon training ahead that's more than just checking off a run. You'll be far more prepared for your marathon if you can do this. And it's really actually pretty simple as long as you can have an understanding of what you're doing within the marathon training cycle and you can check your ego at the door. So when I say training with intentionality, I mean a few different things. So we're going to talk about these 3 today: setting yourself up for success ahead of your run, executing your runs as prescribed, and then lastly, understanding how each type of run you're doing is preparing you for the marathon or understanding the purpose. So let's go ahead and get into each of these topics, starting with setting yourself up for success ahead of your run. This component is really understated and often overlooked. So what I see happen a lot is people are very used to just waking up, throw their clothes on, get out the door, press start on their watch, and go. If it says 5 miles, they don't really know anything other beyond the fact that they just need to get those 5 miles done. And if they do that, then they've had success for today. And as I talked about before, yes, of course, if you can check that off, that's a great job, but we want to go beyond that. And so in order to do that, you really need to do more ahead of time than just getting up and getting out the door. And though this is a beauty of our sport of running, you absolutely should have times that you do that, but the marathon training block is not that time. So here are some questions that I want you to be asking yourself before each of these runs, and that you have an answer for each of these that's going to help you get ready with intention before you head out for that run. And it's starting the night before, so you can be ready for that in the morning or that next day whenever you go about doing your run. How will I fuel and hydrate tonight and in the morning to make sure I feel energized and as best as possible for this run? What's the weather and how do I need to dress appropriately to feel good? What other gear is required? Do I need a hydration vest? What else am I going to need besides just my clothes? And even what shoes am I going to wear to align with this type of run that I'm doing? What route makes the most sense that aligns with the workout? So sometimes going out the front door is the best you can do, and that will often work in most situations, but not always, especially if you have speed work on your run or a long run, or you're supposed to be training with hills because you have a hilly course. You really need to be thinking about that. So that might mean driving to some hills. Can I do the treadmill? Will that work for this? Do I need to go to the track? And then, of course, how much time do I need before the run to get in a good warm-up routine, have my coffee, digest breakfast, go to the bathroom? All of those things that we know are really, really important, that the little things are the big things so that you can have a really great run. And of course, there's some other prep questions you can be asking yourself. These are hopefully going to get the ball rolling on your thinking and having an understanding of what I mean besides just heading out the door. Yes, this takes more time. Yes, this takes more focus and dedication, but that is what marathon training requires, especially when you want to do well in this distance. So the second part of training with intention is executing your runs as prescribed. So simply put, this means that you are doing the run exactly as it is written on your plan. Hopefully you've chosen a plan that has some descriptions with each of the runs besides just written mileage. So in all the plans that I write, I'm very specific within the description of the workout of how it's supposed to be done. This is how long your warm-up is. This is what pace you're supposed to be doing your warm-up. If it has strides, if there are intervals, what paces are you supposed to be doing that? If it's an easy long run, is it all the same pace? Is it all the same effort? What does that look like for the athlete? And so it's really important that you are following it to a T as best you can, because that is going to dictate the outcome of your race by quite a lot. And you're going to see that the more you deviate from the way that they're prescribed, the more you lack understanding of what's really going on within the training. So it's easy to forget that each run has a purpose in the bigger picture. So you want to think of each of these runs as one puzzle piece in the giant marathon training puzzle. And so if you take one out, then it's not complete. And I'm not saying that if you skip one run that it's just going to ruin everything. It's not. But you need to have the mentality that every single run matters, because as soon as you take that away, that thought away, it just gets easier and easier for you to be like, I'll skip a run. It's no big deal. You want to go in with a thought process that every single run matters to this block, and it is going to get me closer and closer to my goal every time I get one completed the way that it's supposed to be done. So an example of this would be a long run. If it's prescribed as all easy pace, it's supposed to be a 3 on a rate of perceived exertion scale of 1 to 10, and it shouldn't be any faster than a minute slower than marathon pace. That's pretty specific, especially the part about it being at least a minute slower than marathon pace per mile. We're talking per mile here. Then that should be something that you can easily look at. When we're talking about rate of perceived exertion, that takes a little bit more effort getting used to. That's why I like to give speed limit on my runs and give some different factors for the athlete to be thinking about, so that they know they are getting it done as prescribed as closely as possible. That doesn't mean that every run is going to go perfectly from the outset, especially if you're new at this. And that's okay. I'm not expecting as a coach that everything's going to be perfect. But what I do expect is that the athlete is trying their best to do the run the way that they're supposed to be doing it. And then after the fact, whether it goes well or it doesn't go well, that you're actually taking time to reflect and decide, what do I want to replicate for next time? Where did I struggle? Do I think that I did this as prescribed, or do I really need to change things up next time so that it goes much, much better? That's part of the job of the athlete, is reflecting and adjusting. And if you don't, then that's on you and really has nothing to do with the training at all. And the last way that you're going to train with intention is understanding how each run is preparing you for the marathon ahead. One of the most important things you can do in the starring role of this marathon journey is to ask yourself for each run, what is the purpose? Why am I doing it? How is it helping me? How is it going to get me closer to my goal and help me achieve what I want to achieve on race day? The reason I like my athletes to answer this question is because it puts them, you, in the driver's seat and puts skin in the game. And it also allows the athlete to really put that in conjunction with doing the run as prescribed. If you have a better understanding of the purpose of the run, why it's helping you, why you're doing it, it's only going to help you follow the description of the run and do it the way that you're supposed to that much better. Because again, it's not just someone giving you the run and you blaming it all on the plan if everything goes awry. Instead, it's letting you take responsibility that this is your training, and how you execute everything and your focus and your dedication directly translates to race day and how that's all going to come together on race day. Understanding the why of how that particular puzzle piece fits into the entire marathon puzzle is only going to help you have a more meaningful and intentional experience, and you're going to do better. So you might be thinking, well, what do I mean? What are all the types of runs? So there's lots of different types of runs: easy runs, recovery runs, long runs, tempo runs, strides, hills, intervals. And you're not necessarily going to have all of those types of runs on your schedule, especially if you're a beginner. You're not going to have maybe any speed work, or might have very little, but you need to have an understanding of why you're doing each of those and how they're actually going to help you. So I'm not going to get into the purpose of each of those types of runs today because I've already made an entire video about it that I'm going to go ahead and link up here. I would really encourage you to watch that video because it's really getting to the nitty-gritty of each of those types of runs, why you would do them, and how they're going to help you, not just in this marathon training block, but long-term, how you might want to include those in your running journey. If you want to run a strong marathon, you have to be willing to dedicate yourself to this process and trust that it's going to work when you stick to the plan. But that doesn't mean there won't be hurdles and challenges to overcome, even when you're doing everything right. Part of what makes this distance so great is getting to see how you respond when things get tough, and you learn so much about yourself in that process. So make sure to join me in that next video where I'll be sharing my best tips to stay the course and work through those biggest challenges that are bound to come in your marathon training journey. Thanks for joining me today, guys, and I'll catch you in that next one.